Hello guys and welcome into the Underrated Fantasy Football channel. I'm your host Maxwell Dorn, and today we will be doing a little week 3 recap. I've been kind of sleeping on these podcasts lately. I've been doing a lot of work on the Underrated FF Instagram, so if you get a chance to go check out that page or ever want to DM me a start or sit, go ahead and message me on Underrated. It's at Underrated FF on Instagram, and I'll usually get back with you, within a couple hours or so. So if you ever need any advice, feel free to hit me up on there. But let's dive into the Week 3 recap. Then we're going to touch on a couple waiver wire picks that I think would be good pickups for particular positions on teams. But first game, the Thursday night game. Not too much exciting going on over there as far as fantasy aspects. Derrick Henry snuck in. Once again, for the third time this season, he only averaged 2.6 yards a carry. So, 17 carries for 44 yards, that's nothing that is really going to excite me. Leonard Fournette had a terrible game all the way up until the fourth quarter when he ended up breaking some 60-yard run, and before that he was like -8 yards or something, 69-yard run. He was -3 before that run, so that goes to show you how this game was. DJ Chark, another guy that snuck in. I'm on the you can almost drop D.D. Westbrook type train because there's just not a lot to like there anymore. Jacksonville already not a great offense. Tennessee's actually got a pretty solid defense. But to see Chark get in the end zone again for the third week in a row, this is obviously Gardner Minshew's favorite target. So I like this guy a lot. If he's on your waiver wire, make sure you pick this guy up. I like him in the flex spot from here on out until he proves us wrong. I feel somewhat comfortable throwing DJ Chark in there. As far as the Tennessee side goes, Marcus Mariota threw for 300 yards, no TDs, no interceptions, nothing really that's jumping out at me. Corey Davis, nothing there. Delaney Walker, another modest game, 7 receptions, 64 yards. That's a guy that's just going to pay off for you every week. And a lot of people have Delaney Walker on their bench. So if you're a guy struggling at your tight end position, feel free to go try to get some shares of Delaney. I think he's going to be pretty solid this year. Moving on, going to the Bengals and the Bills game. Joe Mixon continues to let down. At least he snuck in the end zone this week. It was only a 1-yard receiving touchdown. He averaged 4 yards a carry. That's not terrible. He had a 14-yard run, which was his longest run of the year. There's just not a lot I'm buying in Cincinnati. Their upcoming schedule is tough, playing Jacksonville, Baltimore. I'm not buying in on Joe Mixon. I'm staying away from him. Tyler Boyd had a pretty modest game here, but I'm going to go ahead and say that's Buffalo. Buffalo's a tough team to play in Buffalo, too. I didn't expect too much from Tyler Boyd. He still managed to reach double digits in full PPR, so that's good. He's going to bring you that high floor, you know. He's not going to ever really disappoint you, but, he's on the Bengals, so you can't say that he's going to have these. He does have some boom games sometimes. Luckily, the Bengals are usually playing from behind, so that keeps that floor really high for Tyler Boyd. John Ross, pretty disappointing game, but like I said, it's against the Bills. The Bills are extremely good on defense this year. Tre'Davious White, and they're at home. And, Bills Mafia at home, that's a tough group to go with. Frank Gore, just being Frank Gore, 5 yards a carry, a touchdown last week, 22-yard run. These guys are timeless. Like guys like Frank Gore, Larry Fitz, they just don't stop. They just keep chugging. Frank Gore, another decent play coming up again next week. I'd hold on to Frank Gore. He's gonna get the carries over there as long as Devin Singletary's out. We don't know if he's gonna be back yet at this moment in time when I'm doing the recap on Wednesday. On Tuesday. I'm sorry, I'm doing the recap on Tuesday. So we'll see how that all turns out. TJ Yeldon ended up with 8 carries for 30 yards. I don't like TJ Yeldon at all. And, as far as the Buffalo receiving goes, Dawson Knox had a touchdown, 3 receptions, 67 yards. As far as wide receivers go on the Buffalo Bills, I'm okay dropping John Brown at this point. Cole Beasley, a deep full PPR pickup maybe this week. He's just getting a lot of receptions underneath, bailout product. I like that. If you really need it in the flex in deeper leagues, Cole Beasley's a nice play. 8 receptions last week, 10 targets. So, I mean, not much from that game. I mean, it's not a very exciting game. The Bills pulled it off. They're 3-0. So, moving on to the next game. All right, so jumping into the next game, and that's going to be the Cowboys versus the Dolphins. Obviously, we don't really even need to touch on the Dolphin side. Kenyon Drake, most of those guys, not really fantasy relevant at the moment. I'm not even going to waste your time and jump in on them. But I am going to touch on these Cowboys because they look absolutely phenomenal right now. Randall Cobb even had a 70-yard touchdown call back. Another deep PPR play that I like, similar to Cole Beasley. He'll get the targets. Randall Cobb, obviously a little bit higher upside. If you need a help on the wide receiver, I think he's a good stash spot right now. I think he could emerge with Michael Gallup out of the lineup. So he's a nice little stash away. Dak Prescott absolutely playing out of his mind. QB number 3 right now in half PPR in my standard league, half PPR. But you got to look at who they've played. You got to put that into perspective. They really haven't played anyone that tough. They've played the Giants week 1. They've played Washington week 2. They've played Miami week 3. Maybe they may be the worst 3 defenses in the NFL at this moment in time right now. That's who the Cowboys have played. So I know that they're 3-0, but let's just pump the brakes a little bit. I mean, coming up this upcoming week, they're going into New Orleans. That's going to be a tough game. Obviously, no Drew Brees, but still, I don't think the New Orleans are just going to let them roll over them at home. Then they're playing against Green Bay. Green Bay's bound on fire, obviously. Then they play New York, maybe an easy win, get back on track there. But then they play Philadelphia. Then they're going back against the Giants, maybe another easy win. Then they got Minnesota, Detroit, New England, Buffalo, Chicago. That is extremely tough to finish the season. And like I said, they got New Orleans and Green Bay these next 2 weeks. We're going to really see what these Cowboys are made of. As of right now, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, obviously all must starts. The Cowboys are on fire. Sunday night, I'm excited to see what they can do coming up. All these guys have been thriving. So we're going to move on to the next game, and the next game is, drumroll please, the Packers and the Broncos, of course. Why else would we need the drumroll? And I'm as a Devontae Adams owner, heavy this league. I mean, heavy this year. I invested a lot into Devontae Adams this year. And when I looked at the schedule, I knew coming in that the start of the season was going to be tough. Chicago, Minnesota, and then who do we play this week? Yeah, then we obviously played the Broncos. All top-tier cornerbacks, Xavier Rhodes, Amukamara, Eddie Jackson, all those guys and then you got then Chris Harris too. All top-end corners. I mean, coming up for the Packers, they got a good look coming up. Their upcoming schedule is the Eagles, who their secondary is terrible, absolutely terrible. Then they got the Cowboys, who obviously they're vulnerable. People score points on the Cowboys. The Lions, familiar. Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers got a good D. Panthers are a little dwindled right now. 49ers, Giants, Redskins. It starts to really heat up for the Packers and get off that tough schedule where they just played the Bears, the Vikings, and the Broncos. Teams with really good defenses for the most part, especially in the secondary. So look for the Packers really starting to start thriving on offense. They've been winning these games mostly because of their defense. The offense really doesn't look like it's been in flow yet. Once we see Aaron Rodgers really get locked in and so-called do his part, he said in a press conference this week he wants to score more points as an offense. So I look for that to be an extremely positive note coming forward. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, a guy who, when they do come into these tough matchups against like LA, the Chargers guys with like Casey Hayward, similar to what we saw this week where Devontae Adams was covered with Chris Harris, I think that we're going to see MVS really come into fruition this year. He's the true number 2. Geronimo Allison really doesn't look that good this year. Rodgers isn't giving him too many looks, but I'd like to see that offense get up and running a little bit better than they have been doing because it has been sputtering ever since. It looks like the first 10 plays are scripted, and they all look great to start the game. They usually score early in the first quarter, and then they haven't been able to put it together. So hopefully that comes in to fruition. I'm a buy low on all Packers right now because their upcoming schedule is going to be great. So if you're looking for some buy low candidates, I think you can find them on the Packers because their offense is a little sluggish, and I think they're going to start putting up more points. Bouncing over to the Broncos side, like I said, the Packers won this game with their defense, so there really wasn't too much going on in the passing game. The secondary for the Packers was really good against Emmanuel Sanders, shut him down completely. He was saying after the game, they're living in a world of suck over there in Broncos world. Phillip Lindsay obviously had the blow-up game, 2 touchdowns, 81 yards, sorry about that, 21 carries. I wouldn't get too high on Phillip Lindsay. He's a sell-high candidate right now for me. Coming into Jacksonville next week, I think it's going to be tough, and I think they're going to keep rotating Royce Freeman in there. So another sell-high candidate. I mean, I think they're going to keep those carries pretty split unless Phillip Lindsay continues to look like he did last night. Maybe he can take over that role. I got him in a league, so I wouldn't mind. Moving on to the next game, we're going to jump into the Falcons and the Colts. Jacoby Brissett, a guy on the waiver wire this week. I do not think he's a bad pickup at all, even for season-long teams. If you want a QB, he had 310 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's what I think he's got 8 touchdowns through the first 3 games. This team obviously needs to throw. T.Y. Hilton might be a little banged up. That might make you a little more hesitant. Marlon Mack continuing this consistent pace that he's been on. He's been great so far this season. 16 carries, 74 yards, and a touchdown, 4.6 average. I mean, Marlon Mack is kind of turning out to be a steal because everyone was kind of hesitant on him in the draft. Now he's really panning out these past few weeks. So if you're a Marlon Mack owner, kudos to you. T.Y. Hilton a little banged up. He said, I mean, there's a chance that he misses this game. So if you're a T.Y. Hilton owner and he's someone you heavily rely on, make sure you take care of that in the waiver wire this week so you know to patch him up because he might not play. He did something to his quad, and he said that he didn't know if he was ready to come into this game. So I think he's going to take it pretty easy. I think there's a good chance that he misses this game. So be wary if you're a T.Y. Hilton owner. Maybe Zach Pascal could be a guy that you could pick up if you're a T.Y. Hilton owner because he had a touchdown last week. He's looked pretty good in that offense. Going over to the Atlanta side, Julio Jones is legit this year, ladies and gentlemen. 9 targets, 8 receptions, 128 yards, and a touchdown. Put it on the board. This guy is starting to heat up. 3 TDs in 3 games. Wide receiver number 2 on the season. I mean, obviously, if you're a Julio owner, I'm jealous because I took Davante Adams over Julio in a lot of leagues. It's starting to come back and bite me. Hopefully, Davante Adams can show up this week. Please, Davante, do something against the Eagles. I'm actually going to be at the game, so pull for something for me, boys. Pray for me, please. So, Matt Ryan, another great game. He was just an absolute archer this game. 29 for 34, 300 yards, 3 TDs, and an interception. I mean, Matty Ice heating up, Julio Jones heating up. Calvin Ridley, the absolute dud. I would not worry about this too much or read into it. He's going to have an off game. I think the Colts tried to take him out of the game because he's kind of the guy who stretches the field for him, opens it up a little bit. I think they forced him to run a little bit more. And obviously Julio Jones is Julio Jones, so he's going to get his. Devontae Freeman actually saw a good volume this week with Ito Smith injured. 16 carries, 88 yards, 5.5 average. Maybe a buy low candidate right now. If he continues in the offense, hopefully the Falcons can turn it around. They're still putting up points, trailing from behind. So if they start getting up in some of their upcoming games, I think Devontae Freeman could have more work. I do not believe he has a touchdown on the season yet. So that is obviously something. Yeah, he doesn't have a touchdown on the season. 35 attempts, 129 yards, 3.7 yards a carry. So I mean, if you need a running back, which a lot of people probably do because a lot of injuries going on right now, a lot of guys not coming into fruition like they wanted, maybe try to trade for Devontae Freeman. He could be a good buy low candidate right now. He looked pretty good last week. He had a 28-yard run, so maybe a guy you want to pick up. Moving on, let's keep the pace up here because I'm not trying to waste too much of your guys' time. We're gonna go into the Chiefs-Ravens game. Obviously, a heavy scoring game. Patrick Mahomes, big game, 374 yards, 3 touchdowns. Darrell Williams, 9 carries for 62 yards. And Mecole Hardman obviously had that huge bomb, that 80-yard bomb that he caught. LaShawn McCoy actually got in for 2 touchdowns for the Chiefs as well. if you're looking for wide receiver help again this week, like I've been saying, you're gonna want to go ahead and grab either of these wideouts for the Chiefs against the Lions. Darius Slay is more than likely going to be out. I don't care which one you have. If you have Demarcus Robinson or Mecole Hardman, you got to play him this week. In the Dome against the Lions, Patrick Mahomes is absolutely going to slang it. I just have a feeling it's going to be an old-fashioned shootout. Tons of points going on here. You got to ride one of these guys. It's Patrick Mahomes slanging it. As long as Tyreek Hill's out, if you have Demarcus Robinson or Mecole Hardman, you need to play him in the flex. Obviously, Sammy Watkins, wide receiver 2. Travis Kelce must start every week. If LaShawn McCoy misses time along with Williams, I think Darrell Williams is going to step in and take over the load right here. He averaged 7 yards a carry last week with a 41-yard long carry. I think that, man, he looks the best. He was awesome at LSU. Now coming into the Chiefs offense, it's obvious any running back could step in there and make some things happen. McCoy got in for 2 touchdowns, a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. He ended up having to leave due to a foot injury. So keep your eyes on that. Darwin Thompson he got 4 carries for 8 yards. I'm over it on Darwin Thompson. I don't think this is his year. I don't think he's going to come in and get that many carries. I think there's too much going on with Darrell Williams, LaShawn McCoy, and Williams. So there's just too much going on in that backfield. 3 different backs. If you're pretty much playing Russian roulette if you have them. So hopefully you got all of them, like my one buddy's got all of them. So. Then going over to the Baltimore side, Mark Ingram was absolutely, he's a monster. He just doesn't stop. He's a workhorse. 3 touchdowns, 103 yards, 16 carries. Guy is just unconscious. RB number 3 at the moment. I mean, coming into the year, Mark Ingram was a guy I did not like. This Baltimore team looks great. Keeping up with the Chiefs 28-33. I mean, they almost snuck it out, but they ended up losing. Lamar Jackson wasn't really that great through the air this game. Nothing. I mean, he ended up rushing a touchdown in, but 22 for 43, 267 yards. Not that impressive. I mean, that's a little better than 50%. So I'm just not that impressed with him. Marquise Brown. And this is really the first offense that we've seen Lamar Jackson really play, right? Like, who else have they played? Let me get a look on this so far this year. Who else have they played? The game logs. Okay. Because I know that's easy who they've played. Yeah, they've played Miami and Arizona. Miami, he obviously went off. I'm just thinking Lamar Jackson is kind of a sell high candidate for me right now because I think that he's going to come down to earth, honestly. He hasn't played any good defenses. He torched Miami, whatever. Miami's absolutely atrocious. Arizona, absolutely atrocious. Went into KC. KC is not a good defense. And he couldn't even complete better than 50% of his passes, only for 267 yards, no touchdowns, was sacked 3 times. So he's kind of a sell high candidate for me right now. I think it's gonna get tougher, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't gonna be. It's not gonna be all roses for Lamar Jackson. So he's a sell high candidate for me. Like I said, I'm just touching on this because this is right after the week. I'm not really talking about waiver wire acquisitions, but I'm kind of just touching on them, like Lamar. Or like if I think a guy could be traded or what kind of upside I think he has. Lamar Jackson is a guy that I think has a lot of like hype around him right now, but he hasn't really played anyone good yet. So he's someone that I might be trying to move for someone else if you need a wide receiver or a running back, something like that. Obviously, you could hold on to him too. I mean, he's going to be solid this year, but I'm saying he's going to start playing a lot better teams as well. Going into the next one, it's the Raiders versus the Vikings. I got to start speeding these up a little bit. This is taking a long time. So, Kirk Cousins, if you don't own Adam Thielen, I'm not starting a wide receiver on the Vikings. Bottom line. Stephon Diggs has like 7 receptions on the year. This is a run-heavy offense now. Alexander Mattison had 12 carries. Mike Boone had 3 carries. Dalvin Cook had 16 carries. They're running the ball. They're trying to utilize Kirk Cousins as the least as possible. I would not. Don't start Stephon Diggs until you see something. Move on from him. Try to trade him. You're not going to get shit for him right now. So probably just put him on your bench for now until something happens. They're probably going to be in more challenging games coming up where they can't just run out the clock like this. But I'm sitting Stephon Diggs. If I don't have Adam Thielen, I'm not starting any wide receivers on the Vikings. Vikings came out with this game. They ended up just running out the ball. Josh Jacobs was absolutely atrocious. 10 carries, 44 yards. He couldn't really find a rhythm out there. DeAndre Washington ended up getting 6 carries. Derek Carr, 27 for 34, 242, and 2 TDs and an INT. Tyrell Williams jumped in for one. Guy who I think is a high-end wide receiver 3. He's a low-end wide receiver 2. He's involved in that offense every single week, no matter what. But a guy who is just showing out is Darren Waller. 13 receptions on 14 targets, 134 yards. He hasn't even found the end zone this year, ladies and gentlemen. This guy's an absolute stud. Wow, I was not high on him coming into the season, and I am wrong. That guy is an absolute monster. God, if I could have him, that would be amazing, but he's great. Going on to the Jets and the Patriots recap. What are we doing here? The Jets are bad until Sam Darnold gets back. 0-3. Patriots pretty much mollywopped them. If you're a Sony Michel owner, I am putting you in the worried group because you better be worried. 9 carries, 11 yards. And this is the third game where we've really seen him lack. Rex Burkhead actually led the backfield in carries with a rushing touchdown. And Rex Burkhead's catching the ball too. Man, if I'm a Sony Michel owner, I'm worried I'm grabbing Rex Burkhead on the waiver wire. Philip Dorsett, another guy I think could be a very viable waiver wire pickup this weekend, coming in. Edelman banged up. If Edelman sits, he's going to have a big workload when they're going into Buffalo because it's not going to be easy. They're not going to be able to run, so they're going to have to. I think they're going to be forced to move it through the air with the way the run game's going. So I think Dorsett could have a big week coming in. The Jets on bye this next week. Le'Veon Bell, I feel bad for him, man. 18 carries, 35 yards, 1.9 yards a carry average. Luke Falk couldn't even break the 100-yard mark passing. Man, would it surprise you to say if I said the leading receiver for the New York Jets had 29 yards and it was Braxton Berrios, and Le'Veon Bell had the most receptions with 4 for 28 yards. It was absolutely disgusting performance on offense. It's Le'Veon Bell or bust on that team. You want nothing to do with it. Let's just keep grooving along here. We don't need anything to do with that. The Lions going in and shocking Philadelphia in Philly. Good win for my inner rival foe. Let's touch on Philly first. Carson Wentz continues to perform. They've kind of had to because they've been falling behind in these games. I'm kind of worried to start him against Green Bay. I'm not going to lie. Alshon Jeffrey banged up. Deshaun Jackson might not be in the game. Wide receivers just dropping balls all game last game. Nelson Aguilar dropping balls in the end zone. He did have 2 TDs, 12 targets, 8 receptions, and 50 yards. But man, I was watching this game because I got Wentz as my QB in one league, and man, they were dropping balls everywhere. Everyone was dropping balls. It was unbelievable. Dropping them in the end zone. I saw 2 or 3 get dropped in the end zone. Carson Wentz he's dialed in. He looks good, but he doesn't have any weapons. He needs Alshon to be back, be 100. I don't like Alshon coming back a little banged up. I think that's going to hurt. He's probably going to get hurt again. Alshon's always hurt, so if he forces it and comes back, I'm going to be surprised if he gets hurt. The secondary of the Packers has just been really good, so I'm a little nervous starting Wentz this week. Just saying, be a little hesitant. If you got better options, go with a better option. Thursday night, no one's really been performing. Miles Sanders, just a bench stash. Jordan Howard, bench stash. Those guys aren't doing anything yet. Zach Ertz hasn't even found the end zone yet. Kind of surprising. On the Lions side, Marvin Jones led the way with 6 receptions, 101 yards, and a tutty. He's been pretty average so far, but he actually took over the wide receiver number 1 role this week, and it paid off. Kenny Galladay took the back seat. Playing Kenny Galladay coming back. I hope he takes the back seat again, but I doubt it against KC. I think they're going to be slanging it against KC, so I would stream some Lions wide receivers because I think they're going to have to try to keep up, and that Kansas City defense is not good, so I think they'll have some time to try to make it happen. The Lions ended up pulling that one out, 27-24. Pretty impressive win. I didn't think they would win that one at all, so good for the Lions owners. And Matty Stafford, another streamable option coming in this week if you need a quarterback playing against Kansas City. We're going to get moving. We're going to get grooving. How many more we got left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fuck. All right. Let's keep it rolling here. Touching in, Kyle Allen might be a waiver wire spot that could provide value the rest of the season. I listened to Matthew Berry and the Footballers podcast, and they were talking a lot about how they think that Kyle Allen could come into fruition this year and be a viable starting option. They think it's better actually for guys like Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, Greg Olsen, because they think Kyle Allen's going to drop back and he's going to actually have to pass, where Cam Newton has always been scrambling, getting tackled. He doesn't have a good arm. He hasn't been very good with his arm the past few years. So it might be good to get a viable option in there with a guy who can actually sling the rock around. Christian McCaffrey, he's an absolute monster. 24 carries, 153 yards, and a touchdown, 76-yard touchdown. And he had 35 through the air with 3 receptions. Guy's unreal. Like, seriously, he's unreal. DJ Moore had that big bomb that he caught for a 52-yard touchdown. Curtis Samuel got a lot of looks this game. 7 targets, 5 receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Greg Olsen, man, 2 touchdowns, 75 yards, 6 receptions. I think he is going to be he's going to be good, man. He might be a top 5. I'm not even top 7 for sure tight end the rest of the season. If he's on your waiver wire, I would grab him this week. Greg Olsen's the real deal if he's healthy, man. And Kyle Allen, he's looking for that outlet, guys. I mean, Kyle Allen, 4 touchdowns last week. Like, slanging it. Carson, I mean, when's the last time that Cam Newton threw for 4 touchdowns? Probably last season, but it was probably one time. That was Kyle Allen's first game. Now, mind you, it was against Arizona, so let's keep it relevant. But, I mean, I think there's some upside there. DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Greg Olsen, now with Kyle Allen back there, they all take a slight boost. So enjoy that boost if you got them. Going over to the Cardinals side, Kyler Murray, only 173 yards through the air with 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Threw it 43 times, only connected on 30, but 8 carries, 70 yards on the ground. So it's good to see him finally coming out and rushing. David Johnson just continuing. He had that great receiving touchdown. Go watch that video where Kyler ran out to the right, threw it all the way back to DJ. It was a broken play, but it was an awesome play by both those guys. If you get a chance, go check that out. Christian Kirk, 10 receptions, 12 targets, 59 yards. Now, mind you, I mean, that's 15.9 points in full PPR, just on receptions alone. If that guy found the end zone, wow. If he keeps getting that type of volume, he's going to be lethal in PPR. Keep your eye on Christian Kirk. I really like him for the rest of the year. Larry Fitzgerald, the guy is absolutely timeless with Frank Gore. I don't understand you. I mean, Larry Fitz is the true timeless man, though. You cannot stop him. Like, wide receiver 3 all day. He's going to continue to climb this entire season. They throw the ball so much in Arizona. I wouldn't be surprised to see Larry Fitz finish as a wide receiver 2. I'm not even kidding. Hold on to him. Don't let him go. They're going to be throwing all year. Their schedule gets easier and easier. I'm buying on all Cardinals wide receivers right now. Straight up. Going into our next game, the Giants at the motherfucking Buccaneers. Hello. What's good? Here we go. Danny Dimes. Daniel dropping them dimes. Dude, this guy is legit. He looked legit this week. 23 for 36, 336 through the air, 2 TDs, 2 on the ground for 28. Danny Dimes was looking legit, and the receiving core was reaping the benefits. Evan Ingram, 6 receptions, 113 yards, a touchdown, 75-yard tutty. Are you kidding me? Evan Ingram is tight end number uno at this moment in time. Tight end number 1, yes. Sterling Shepard, 7 receptions, 100 yards, a touchdown. Saquon Barkley obviously hurt, but man, I'm telling you, this team is going to have to throw so much. Oh my goodness. Danny Dimes is about to take over. They're going to be always playing in tight games or from behind. They're going to have to throw. They're going to try to get Daniel Jones as much work as he can. My favorite waiver wire pickup of the week. And don't tell anybody, because this guy is going to be, I mean, I might be getting a little overexcited about him, but these are the type of players that win you your league. Like when QBs get super hot like this and they start taking off, the end of Daniel Jones' schedule to finish the season for playoffs is unbelievable. Go look at his schedule. It is unbelievable coming into the playoff stretch. So if you want a QB just to stash, if you think your team's going to make it into playoffs, even this upcoming week against Washington, I would stream Daniel Jones. So I would say all those wide receivers taking a bump this week. Golden Tate, make sure you snag him coming up. He's going to be back week 5. He's a sneaky snag. People are going to forget about him right now because he's not going to be back this week. He's going to be back next week. So Golden Tate, going to be a great guy in PPR for the underneath stuff. Tampa Bay absolutely went off on it. Absolutely went off on it. Ronald Jones, 14 carries, 80 yards. It's good to see that guy actually finally coming to fruition a little bit. I mean, someone's got to prevail over there. Peyton Barber had 13 for 48. Obviously, the story of the day is Mike Evans, 8 receptions, 190 yards, 3 TDs. Killed me. Him and Keenan Allen together. I don't even want to talk about it. 15 targets for Mike Evans. Chris Godwin took the backseat here. I wouldn't worry too much. I think he's going to bounce back. O.J. Howard finally got a few receptions. 3 receptions for 66 yards. Not a bad day. Still looking for better days for O.J. Howard, but nothing you can complain about compared to what we've been experiencing with those guys. But, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. Mike Evans, maybe a sell-high candidate. I don't think he's going to keep up that consistency, but who knows? I mean, he's a great wide receiver, but I don't know. He's pretty boomer bust, but I just traded him away. Maybe I'm a little salty. I don't want him anymore. Get that out of my face. Texans, Chargers, another tail of the tape. Keenan Allen absolutely went off. 17 targets, 13 receptions, 183 yards, 2 TDs. Keenan Allen, wide receiver number 1 right now. Are you fucking kidding me? My gosh. Austin Eckler finally had a quiet day. Mike Williams continues to be quiet. 3 receptions, 45 yards. Buy low candidate. I think he could come in, start making some plays later in the season. Their schedule gets a little bit easier. Keenan Allen can't. They're going to start doubling him. They're going to start doubling Keenan Allen. If he continues to be this good, they will start doubling him, and Mike Williams will start getting tons of receptions. I promise you. Phillip Rivers, love the streaming this week. If you got Phillip Rivers on your waiver wire playing Miami, he's going to go off. That's enough said. Austin Eckler probably will go off. Going over to the Houston side, Deshaun Watson is just always on the move. That offensive line is absolutely terrible. He still finishes 25 for 34, 351 yards, and 3 TDs on the day. Carlos Hyde continues to be the lead back over there. Everyone who thought Duke Johnson's droppable to me. Standard, half PPR, I'm dropping that bum. He's a bum. He doesn't even get any work. 2 carries. 2 catches? No, thank you. Carlos Hyde last week had, 20 carries? He had 10 this week, and he got the goal line carry. That's all I really want from Houston. They got enough pass catchers over there. I don't need a pass-catching running back on Houston because they don't throw it to him. He doesn't dunk it down there. He throws it out to DeAndre or Kenny Stills or Will Fuller. I mean, he's got a lot of options, so I wouldn't worry too much. Will Fuller's on that drop radar now, too. I might drop him. DeAndre Hopkins, same thing with Devontae Adams. You just got to wait on these guys to get their games because they're going to get their games and they're going to pay off. So hopefully that comes up sooner rather than later. Am I right? Hello. All right, going into the next one, the Steelers are 0-3 versus the 49ers. 49ers are 3-0. What the? Steelers are terrible. Mason Rudolph's terrible. He looked awful. James Conner. If you're a James Conner owner, this is what I'm going to say you do. You keep James Conner for this week. You let him play the Bengals. You let him score a touchdown, and you trade him for literally anything you can get. You move him. You don't want James Conner anymore. Mason Rudolph, all you really needed was someone to get it done. And, I mean, Juju had that 76-yard touchdown, and that really made Mason Rudolph's day. Otherwise, Mason Rudolph would probably have 80 yards. So, man, I don't want any of these guys on Pittsburgh. Juju, luckily, in one league, I could have picked him or Kelsey. I went Kelsey, so thank God I did. Juju's just been a letdown, so, man, I don't think it's going to get any better. They play the Bengals so this upcoming week. So if I were you guys, if you guys have one of these guys on your team, let them have a good game against the Bengals. Don't get too sucked in after they have a good game and trade them immediately and get some value back for them. San Fran running backs are just a mess. I want nothing to do with any of them. Jeff Wilson is the goal line back, I guess. Mozart had 12 carries for 79 yards, and then Breida had 14 carries for 68 yards, and then Jeff Wilson pounds it in. I want nothing to do with any of those guys. Breida on the bench. They're all on the bench for me. Kittle, yet to have a huge game. I mean, I know the first game he had 2 touchdowns called back, but still yet to have a big game. So Dante Pettis snuck in. I don't know. Nothing really excited me over here. There's too many options. Marquise Goodwin, Deebo Samuel, Dante Pettis. Those wide receivers are a roll of the dice. Nothing I'm really excited about. Nothing I really want to touch on. The Rams and the Browns. Baker Mayfield may be droppable. You can probably drop Baker Mayfield, honestly. The O-line looks absolutely terrible. Baker's always rolling out to the right. He's got guys over to the left, wide open. Odell. And yeah, it's not. Baker does not look comfortable in this offense at all. Odell with a quiet night, 6 receptions, 56 yards. Not what you paid up for late first round, early second for Odell. I know last week he blew up. You're going to have these average games sometimes, but man, they just don't look good. They need to figure something out because it doesn't look cohesive. Baker Mayfield's always on the run. They got to tighten up that offensive line or nothing good is ever going to come out of that team, honestly. Todd Gurley looked absolutely terrible. Malcolm Brown owners, arm the guns because Todd Gurley is looking rough. I wouldn't be surprised to see Todd Gurley go on like one of those binges where he's going to sit out for a few games because he doesn't feel right or something like that. I'm not even kidding. Something's going to happen. Darrell Henderson may be coming to fruition. Whoa, man, I'm just kidding. It'd probably go to Malcolm Brown, but obviously it's going to go to Malcolm Brown. But Gurley just doesn't look like – I know McVay said after the game they want to get Gurley going. So, I mean, hopefully they do because he looks terrible to start the season. Just doesn't have that burst. They're not using him in the passing game. 0 catches on 1 target. Man. Brandon Cooks is having a good year. Cooper Kupp's obviously leading the way for the Rams. Like, that receiving core. Wait on Robert Woods. I mean, I think Robert Woods will come around here. But Brandon Cooks looks good. He was looking for him a little more on the more shallow routes where usually he only looks for Brandon Cooks deep. So that's good to start seeing him look for him a little bit more. He had 12 targets along with Cooper Kupp. So those guys look like the lead guys right now. Robert Woods obviously going to have more of a positive impact on teams when it's underneath stuff because Robert Woods more or less does the underneath. Cooks is the deep guy. Cooper Kupp's kind of the underneath in the middle. So I wouldn't panic too much on Woods. If you're a Todd Gurley owner, I'm worried. Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, I'm dropping those bums. They're not good. I mean, Jared Goff, maybe you sit him on the bench, right? But like Baker Mayfield, I'm dropping Baker Mayfield. Legit. I'm dropping Baker Mayfield. I don't want him. They play Baltimore. Their schedule gets tougher and tougher as the year goes on. Even Odell, as an Odell owner, I own him in a lot of leagues. I'm worried right now. Seriously. They play Baltimore. They got to just start throwing it up to Odell. I don't think they throw it deep enough. Like, they need to start throwing him bombs to make plays because he goes up and he makes plays. It's the bottom line. Don't get him injured, but like the cross route's obviously always there. We saw him score that 80-yard touchdown on that cross route. They need to just do that, and that's what they're doing. Baker has 2 seconds to throw the ball, so they need to tighten up that offensive line and do something. Moving on to the last game of the slate, the lamest game of the slate, the busted-ass Bears against the Washington. I was trying to think of something to say terrible with R for the Redskins, but there's nothing. We saw the defense just absolutely destroy Case Keenum and this entire Washington offense. It was kind of embarrassing. Mitch Trubisky actually had a pretty good game, 25 for 31, threw an interception, 3 TDs. David Montgomery, he's just not getting the carries when I want to see him getting the carries. Like, he had 7 carries on the last drive, and before that, he had 6 carries throughout the entire game. He had a 25-yard run. It's like Matt Nagy needs to stop fiddle-faddling around and start giving this guy the rock. Like, I think we finally have gotten over Mike Davis, and now we're bringing in guys like Cordell Patterson. Are you serious? Come on. Like, get this guy the rock. It was nice to see Montgomery get 3 catches, so he ended up with 16 touches on the day. But then they go into Minnesota this week. It makes me a little nervous because Minnesota's rush defense is obviously awesome. So David Montgomery, I just don't get why they can't use David Montgomery on more plays, give him the ball more often, run screens, things like that with him. We'll see if he can come into fruition. Taylor Gabriel, I'm not buying into the hype. It was just little ticky-tacky touchdowns. I mean, the one he had a good snag, but he's already injured. He always does this every year, has a blow-up game, then we don't see him for the rest of the year. Allen Robinson, not a very impressive game either. Anthony Miller, don't want anything to do with him. They've been saying he's going to blow up all year. Mike Tagliere from Fantasy Pros has been riding him forever. Nothing from it. Trey Burton, don't want him. Going over to the Washington side, there's really no one I want over here besides Terry McLaurin. That kid's amazing. You go up, he makes plays for himself to get the ball. We saw when he caught that touchdown in the end zone. He went and pretty much pulled that away by himself. Ohio State product, played with Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State. Paris Campbell was obviously the number 1 over there, but Terry McLaurin looking like a legit wide receiver in the NFL right now. So if you got Terry McLaurin, I'm holding on him. He's going to be a great play for the rest of the season. Case Keenum, not a bad streaming pick coming in. I don't like him, though. I don't like anyone on Washington. I don't want anything to do with him. Adrian Peterson may be a streamable option this next week going against the weak Giants. And because they're almost Miami-esque how bad the Giants' defense is. So we're going to see. That about wraps it up. Nothing really impressive for me from the Chicago game or something that I really think jumps out that I got to talk to you guys about. My main focus is seeing David Montgomery get more work because it just doesn't make sense why he's not out there on more plays. It just doesn't. I mean, he's obviously the clear-cut, the best back. Matt Nagy runs an offense where he likes to have one back on the field. Let's see it happen. I don't get why he's getting so cute this year. He's just trying to get too cute. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little recap. I'm going to try to get more updated with these podcasts, start pushing you out amazing content more often. If you get a chance, subscribe, like the video, go on my Instagram, follow me on the Instagram at @underratedff. That's at @underratedff on Instagram and Twitter if you want to go check us out on there. And, send me a DM, a start or sit or something. I'm going to try and get these start or sits going in on Friday. I'm going to have to pass on Thursday. I'm traveling this weekend. So I hope you guys have a bomb-ass week. Thank you for tuning in. This was the Underrated Fantasy Football Podcast, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.